What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to go over 42 games releasing in 2024 that I'm excited for. So what I try to do here is pick games that either have literal release dates attached to them that are in 2024, or they are projected to be in 2024. Obviously, it's possible some of these slip into 2025, but at least right now, they are projected to release in this year. So let's just go through it. They're not in any particular order. I was considering doing rankings, but I thought, there's just too many, so let's just go through all of them. First up, we have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, this kind of reboot-esque game, right? Originally, the next game in the Tenkaichi series that they kind of retroactively changed. It's not going to be that, but this is what they had always called it, right? So almost a reboot of sorts, but the game looks phenomenal. Destructible environments, a whole roster of characters, and hopefully the biggest roster we've ever had, although that could be debatable if we actually get it, but the game looks phenomenal, and it's heavily projected to be in 2024. I wouldn't be surprised personally if this game didn't come out in the first half of 2024. Next up is Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, a game that's kind of under the radar, and I think that's just because nobody can really talk about it, right? If you've played the playtest, you're not allowed to say anything, but I think this game honestly can make a pretty big splash without going into how I feel about the game itself. I think it's going to be a good one, and I just want info, right? They announced it, but they've really followed up with nothing, although, again, people have been able to play it. I think this game is, again, a 2024 game. Next up, Transformers Reactivate. This game was actually going to be 2023, or at least the beta first kind of look at this game was 2023, and they delayed it. So I don't know if the full-on version of this game would release in 2024, but definitely our first look at it, and most likely our first engagement with it through either a beta or an alpha or maybe an open thing, right, where the game is kind of released but it isn't. I do think that happens this year, and hopefully the game is good. We've been waiting for a Transformers game, this game online game, so it's gonna be for some people, gonna not be for other people. We'll have to see how it is. On to Prince of Persia The Lost Crown. This is actually the first game that comes out in 2024, kind of note. Side scroller, pretty big game, right? They're gonna have cinematics. It's focusing on cutscenes and story and all, plus obviously you need to have good gameplay in a side scroller game. I think this game looks awesome. I think this is a under the radar kind of game, but yet again, with it being the first one out, I think it's gonna kind of get more hyped as we go through these next really couple days and couple weeks. After that is actually The Last of Us Part 2. This stretch right now actually is in order. Last of Us Part 2 remastered, obviously the remastered version of The Last of Us Part 2. Gonna have the roguelike mode, right, which looks really, really cool, at least to me. Also cut levels, right, those lost levels, free guitar playing, and a boatload of other things. You get it as an upgrade for $10 if you already have the base version. If you just buy it, is a full price game, but that one comes out mid-January as well. Then we get Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. This game, if I were to rank them, would easily be in the top 5. Kiryu and Ichiban together, a massive game. So many almost games inside games, management games, an Animal Crossing mode just built in. So much stuff. This game is going to be enormous, and it's also, I think, going to pack an incredibly good story with already 2 incredibly good characters. Then we have Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. This is a game I'm excited for and interested in, but I've never played one of these games before in my life. Now, JRPG, so there's that, and I'm a big fan of JRPGs of kind of all shapes and sizes. I'm hoping this one's good. It comes out in a pretty packed time, but it does visually, at least the visual style to it, looks absolutely awesome, draws me in immediately. I just have to see how the actual base game is. Persona 3 Reload after that, obviously just remaking Persona 3. Now, a sensitive kind of topic because some things they're carrying over. They're not going to be having certain, the other ports or other editions, I should probably say, of Persona 3. So is it necessarily the full package deal of Persona 3? No, but it does look phenomenal. It looks like what Persona 5, kind of an iteration on that. Same thing with Metaphor even, which we'll talk about later in this video. So you can kind of tell where the future of Persona is going, but the game looks awesome. And I've never actually played Persona 3. I played the portable, when it was on Game Pass. Played it for 2-3 hours. Really liked it, but thought, you know what? With the remake coming, why would I play it now when I can just wait? Obviously, very, very good things have been said about this game. So I'm extremely excited to play it all the way through, meet these characters, see the story, a dark story, right, from what I've heard. Cannot wait. Then we have Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Big one, divisive one for sure, right? So we'll have to see how this one goes. Obviously playing as the Suicide Squad live service-esque game. We'll see how much is in the base game. We'll see what they do to that story and the characters and how you handle the Justice League, and then also how this game is supported really long term, right? This is a big one, a very, very big one. Rocksteady's return. You know, it's been so many years since Arkham Knight, and we'll have to see how they do on Suicide Squad. Helldivers 2. Helldivers 1 is really good, and for those that didn't play, and I think a lot of people didn't play Helldivers 1, I think they know that, and obviously the change now from top down to third person, Helldivers 2 looks really, really good, and it seems like it's just going to be more of Helldivers 1 with it being third person, which might be enough, because again, base Helldivers is extremely good. Playing it as a third person game is probably going to work. Then there's Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. This is the next Don't Nod game. This kind of looks like the full package deal. This game looks really good. Obviously, like, if you can bring in that Life is Strange flair that, you know, sometimes they do, sometimes they're a very up and down company, but the game looks really good, like visually, but also the gameplay. Gameplay is obviously something that Don't Nod doesn't mess with too much. They do have games here and there that push it, like a Jasant is pretty darn different, but the gameplay of Ghost looks pretty cool. The story, you know, if they can nail that choices and consequences and, you know, kind of put everything together, right, make it a package deal, this could be one of, if not their best games. Skull and Bones as well comes out this year. Hopefully, we're not at the release date yet, so I don't actually want to say for sure, but it does have a date in mid-February. I think it's gonna nail it. I mean, it's been delayed like 9 times, so maybe I just jinxed it, but as I've said 1,000 times, I'll say it 1,001 times, I'm excited for this game. I just want to see what it is. Like, I've purposely rejected betas and alphas. Anytime I could have gotten into this thing early, I said no. And I said no because I want to see what this actual product is at launch, and I want to judge it appropriately. And I've held that belief for like however many years this game has been, you know, announced, 6-7 years. I'm excited, just in the sense of wanting to see what this game is like when I actually get to play it. Wanted to mention Brother, A Tale of Two Sons here. This was, I believe, announced just recently. Obviously, this game is already out, but we get a remake of it. And the original game, or the base game, is extremely good. A really good story, just a really good game. So the fact that it's getting a remake, I mean, you know, it's everything I just said, but with a remake flair on it. So probably not going to light the world on fire. Definitely a smaller game, all things considered, with the rest of this list. But I would say a very good quality game nonetheless. Another game that I sometimes forget about that is coming is Star Wars Dark Forces. This is this late 90s, right, first-person shooter that I've seen. I've actually watched like Let's Plays, long plays of this game online, and it's always like intrigued me, but I've never played it. There's a lot of those oddball Star Wars games that I've skipped over. It's getting a remaster. It looks like it's getting a pretty good remaster. So, you know, again, is this going to light the world on fire? No, but these guys, the remaster development team, does a really, really good job. The base game is pretty like unique and different, so I think this one is absolutely worth at least a look, right, just to see if maybe it sparks something inside you, like you want to try it out. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is next up. I mean, what can you say about this one that hasn't been said? This is probably one of the bigger games of the year, right, in terms of ranking, just the excitement from kind of a general community, name recognition, all that. It's probably in the top 3, right, of the entire year. I think this game is going to be phenomenal. I'm excited, actually, because I'm going to replay Final Fantasy VII Remake right before it, so I'm excited to get back into that universe and just see what they do, right, to continue to just go down a different road with the story than what people are already used to. So I think it's going to catch a lot of people by surprise. It's obviously going to keep things kind of fresh and unique, right? So I am extremely, extremely excited for that one. Alone in the Dark Remake is another one. Again, a game that has already existed many, many moons ago, and for what it's worth, I have not actually played. There's like I think there's a demo that's out on this game. I've heard like very mixed responses to it. Everything that I've seen of this game looks pretty good, but for people that actually played it, you know, kind of 50-50, I think it's definitely worth at least a look at. Like right now, I'm keeping my eyes on it, whether I buy it day one or play it day one or not. Alone in the Dark is a pretty solid franchise that has definitely had its ups and downs, and you could argue this game, well, number 1 started it all, but number 2 is probably the best of that group, right? So I think it can be good. We just have to see if it will. Dragon's Dogma 2 is next up, and oh my goodness, this is another one. This is a big one, and I think like the videos and just everything we've seen, number 1, it makes it look amazing, but number 2, I don't even know if it gives the game all that much credit. The first Dragon's Dogma is awesome, and I would say it's slept on, but not really. Like, I think it has like the notoriety for how good it is, right? And I think as time has gone on, people very, very much respect the first Dragon's Dogma, so it's hard to say underrated or slept on. I think in some ways it has been or was, right? But this second game looks incredible, and if it's anything like the quality of 1, which it looks like, like that times 10, right? This is going to be an extremely good game, maybe one of the best games of 2024. Next up is the Princess Peach game, Princess Peach Showtime. So this one just intrigues me. You know, I'm not a massive Nintendo player. I do actually buy many Nintendo exclusives, whether it's for myself or me and my daughter play it, and we really like some of these games. So Princess Peach, this game just looks different, right? This game just looks, okay, you're giving a character a time to shine, and just looks really fun. You know, there's not too much to say. I'm sure it's gonna, like, hey, look, Nintendo makes quality games. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, many others. Master Detective Archives was a Nintendo Switch exclusive. That game was awesome. So they just pump out quality things kind of nonstop. I have no reason to believe this is going to be any different. Rise of the Ronin is next up, and you know, the biggest thing with Rise of the Ronin is you have this and you have Dragon's Dogma, and they're released on the same day. That's the biggest issue. You know, that you have two, what looks to be two very good games. The game looks awesome. The game obviously has the backing from the developer, so I think it's going to be a really fun ride. I know a lot of people are very much excited for it. Again, it's just the biggest question is, which one do I play first? I got to be real. I am leaning more Dragon's Dogma. I know there's a lot of people that are going Rise of the Ronin. I got to stick to my Dragon's Dogma love. But both of these games I'm going to play, you know, for sure. Just which one goes first. And then actually, just a few days later, is South Park Snow Day, a game that looks really good. We've talked about a bunch actually on this channel. It seems to be following what we've had with Stick of Truth and Fractured But Whole. It's that same canonical kind of story, right, with the new kid, but it's not the same gameplay style, which, you know, I really loved how those two games were, actually so much. I think the Fractured But Whole is a super good game. This game looks fun too, though, and I've said it before, it kind of reminds me of like the Fat Princesses of the world and games in that genre. I think this can be a lot of fun, and then with the South Park kind of, you know, jazz to it, I think this is going to be a pretty awesome game. Next up is Black Myth Wukong. This game, I mean, every time we see it, looks incredible. The biggest question with this is just, is it going to be as good when we play it as when we've watched it? I mean, that's literally it, because everything we've seen, whether it's visuals or the gameplay itself, the game looks phenomenal. So as long as it can hold that, which is easier said than done, but as long as it can hold that when we actually get to play it, this game is going to be incredible. Next up is Warhammer 40k Space Marine. This is actually the furthest game out in 2024 that has a specific date. It comes out in September. Actually, Black Myth comes out in August. These are the two longest far out games that are coming out this year that have a confirmed date. The rest we're going to talk about, and even the first couple, never had dates to them, so they're just kind of projected, right? But this game looks incredible. Now, I am not a Warhammer like diehard. I've played games here and there, but I mean, I'm just not too much into it. This game looks insanely good, but I will say, this is a game where I'm like, hey, what's that game, you know, with this thing going on? It looks like, it's a game that I can like describe to people, and then I have to remember, oh yeah, that's Space Marine. And that's just me. I know it has a massive fan base. I know people are into it. It's just that I've never been into it. But I'm hoping that can turn around with this game. Okay, the second half or last batch, let's say, are all projected games that hopefully make it, but obviously they're not guaranteed, along with Dragon Ball, Harry Potter, and Transformers, okay? Avowed is a huge one. I think Avowed can be better than a Starfield. We've said this, you know, before. I think Avowed looks really good. And Obsidian, I mean, I have a lot of faith in them. So I'm just really looking forward to a release date. Just give me a date for this game. Everything we've seen so far has looked really good. Hellblade 2. This is probably, you know, I mentioned like, if you think Dragon's Dogma, Infinite Wealth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, those are some of the games that I'm most... Hellblade 2 would be in that list. It'd be in like a top 5. There's actually one more later on that would be probably in the top 5. This game looks incredible, and I just hope they pull it off, right? Like, it looks everything that Hellblade 1 was that I love, and then taking it up another notch, right? Higher budget, so better, just everything, right? Cinematics, like the look of it obviously looks really good. The combat looks better, right? Obviously, that was a pretty big thing that needed improvement from the first game. It's not what the game was, but obviously you need to improve there. So as long as this game comes out this year, I think it's going to be an excellent one. Next up is DECA Police, and this is maybe one that people don't know about all that much. It was announced and then kind of just forgotten about, and I think it was actually supposed to release in 2023. It got delayed till 2024. This is coming from Level 5, who are the developers of like the Ni no Kuni games, amongst others. Great developer, you know, great company in general. They've had some problems with like the American side. I think they shut down all their American offices, so that kind of sucks, but the game looks really good. Again, good good backing, good kind of history with the studio. I think this is going to be a really good game. Then we have Flintlock Siege of Dawn. This game, if I were to rank them, I gotta be real, I would definitely put this on the tail end of it, but it does look really solid. We've actually seen like a good amount from this game. Again, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, I think this game may have also been a 2023 game that was pushed. It again doesn't have a date or anything, but I imagine it makes 2024. Just looks like a good time. I believe Game Pass, it's going to be a Game Pass game. That should help it as well. Just overall looks pretty darn solid. I wanted to throw this one in. Sue me if you don't like it. Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. Mobile game, yes, but in the Kingdom Hearts franchise needs to be a part of it. I'll make this very short. Doing this or playing it, or why do I care about it? Simply for the story. It's going to push the story in some direction. It's going to have info that you're going to need for the future of Kingdom Hearts, and so it's a must read, must watch, must play, whatever words you want to use. You're going to have to experience it in one way or another. Next up is 33 Immortals. This is this roguelike game that's been shown off a few times. Phil Spencer, I think, played it with the developers as well. Kind of like a Hades-like thing, but you have 33 people, I believe, at any given time. Looks insane. Don't even know if it's going to work, to be honest with you. I don't know if any roguelike game really would work with 33 people, but you know what? I'm going to give it a try, and it does look really, really good. Again, it's just a matter of will it release this year. Little Nightmares 3. This game doesn't have the date, but this one for sure is 2024. This one's already got substantial gameplay. There's like a 20-minute section of this game, a walkthrough, playthrough, I think PlayStation's YouTube. So this is probably a first half of the year kind of thing, not made from the same people that made Little Nightmares 1 and 2, okay? So keep that in mind. But Little Nightmares is such a good franchise, and I think for those that play it, they know that, right? So hopefully, even though it's a different developer, they can kind of reel it in, and, you know, this last one, and maybe last one, maybe they keep it going, but this third in the trilogy can be extremely good. Next up is the Lollipop Chainsaw Remake. This one's odd because it was a remaster turned into a remake, and they announced it mid-development. They actually just announced, I think it was delayed from 23 to 24, and they had said, hey, you know, we were going to do a remaster, then we decided we'll just do a full-on remake. So that's what you're getting now, and I'm excited. It doesn't have the original, like, James Gunn. It doesn't have them attached to it, which kind of sucks, but I think they can do it. And Lollipop Chainsaw is just such a wacky, weird game. I'm up for, you know, replaying it in modern day. I think that would kind of be fun. Metaphor, and I don't know how to say the second part of it, so I'm just going to say Metaphor, is the next game, much like Persona, right? And, you know, I mentioned for Persona 3, there's two things with this game. Number one, it just looks good, and I think it's going to be an extremely good game. It's like Persona if it was back in time, right? Number two, it's going to push us, I think, forward in what we would expect from a Persona 6. And I love Persona, so I got to keep bringing it up. But the game itself does look extremely, extremely good. And again, no date. Hopefully it makes it this year because, you know, if you're waiting for like a 70, 80, 90-hour game that's got great characters and great story, there's a pretty good chance that this game's going to have it. Next up is Multiverses. You remember this game? I honestly keep forgetting about it. I knew it, like, I knew what happened with it and all that stuff, right? But I just felt, why did they take it down? And I mean, I guess I get it, right? It was technically a test. They were testing it out. It was an alpha or whatever, open beta, open alpha, whatever it was. They take it down, they regroup, they're going to fix the stuff, and they're releasing it in a full form. So I understand what they did. I don't know if it's going to help them because I've forgotten about it. I don't know how many other people have forgotten about it, but it's still coming out. When it originally came out in that form, I thought it was actually pretty darn good. I don't know if it's a game that can last, you know, long term as a live service, but what I played personally, I really enjoyed it. Stalker 2 is next up. Again, this is another game that is 2024, doesn't have a date, but I really think it's first half. People are already able to actually, I think, pre-order and maybe even download like special bonuses with it. So I think this game is close, probably like a February, March, April kind of game. And the game looks really, really good. I've actually never played a Stalker game before, but everything I've seen of this game looks awesome. So this will be my first jump into the franchise. Star Wars Outlaws is next. This game, you know, we've talked about this quite a bit on the channel. Probably a fall game, right? And it will probably go up against Assassin's Creed, which we'll talk about as well. But this game looks incredible. They have a chance here to, you know, establish themselves in the Star Wars universe. universe and to do a game like this, maybe a little Division E, right, but with Star Wars, I think it can be very good. Next up is Stellar Blade, and obviously we have a lot of fans of the game on this channel. I'm a fan of this game as well, I guess, leading into the game. Here's hoping that the game comes out this year, right? Not too much more to be said. The game looks great. We need more stuff on it, right? Where we're stuck with the same 2 or 3 trailers that we've had for a couple of years at this point. I think one was 2021. So it's time we get a little new stuff, and it's time this game just comes out and we see, you know, just how good it is. Wolf Among Us 2, this would be, again, this is probably rounds out that top 5 if I were to rank them. Please, Telltale, please be okay, and please have this game come out. Was supposed to be 2023, was delayed. Telltale faces layoffs. They don't say how bad it is, but the rumors were that it was terrible, the layoffs. So I just hope the studio's okay. I hope Wolf Among Us is okay, and I hope they can, you know, pick it up from where they left off. There's a big shoes to fill from themselves, I guess, right? The first game was so good, and this game needs to be good. Otherwise, I really, you know, if this game suffers in terms of, I guess, how we think of it, or even sales probably more important. Telltale might be looking at like their second attempt of falling apart. We've already seen it once. I think a lot rests on the Wolf Among Us 2. Next up, Silent Hill 2 Remake. We'll spend next to no time on this because I make like 20 videos on this game. I'm excited for it. We'll see how they actually, you know, do, because there's a 50-50 shot they completely mess this up. Bloober Team does not have the greatest history, but also Silent Hill 2 is such a great, you know, it's already a functionally, mechanically solid, you know, one of the better horror games ever crafted. So you don't have to do too much, and we'll just have to see how they do it, you know, what they actually change, if they change anything. We'll have to see. Next up, Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, right, the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. Game looks awesome. We don't have that much on it, but Metal Gear Solid 3, again, a really good game. All you're doing is remaking it, and I didn't actually think this game would be a 2024 game, but it was included in a PlayStation video for games releasing in 2024, so I'll put it on this list. It's definitely a game that would be on my most anticipated if it actually releases. Final 4, Assassin's Creed Red. This is the Japan one. I think this game's coming out this year. I really do. It's possible it gets pushed to maybe first half of 25. Again, we talked about if Star Wars Outlaws is in the fall, we have Star Wars and Assassin's Creed, so that might be a little messy, but, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing for 2 massive Ubisoft games to come out in, you know, 2 of 3 months. That could be extremely actually good for them. So I'm excited for it. I'm not the biggest fan of the new age, like Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. Not the biggest fan, but definitely, like, look, we've been asking for Japan for so long, and, like, you gotta, you know, if they're doing it, and at least if they do it half well, I gotta try to support that, right? If they're doing what we've been asking for like 12 years. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This is a game where they're kind of hyping it even on social media. I do think this game comes out this the year that we're in now, 2024. Looks really fun. Could be the most different asymmetrical horror game that we have in that genre. Texas Chainsaw, Friday the 13th, Dead by Day, all those. This game, 7v3, just weird, you know, and Killer Clowns is also just weird, right? So I think just different, a very different kind of game, and I think it can work. You know, we were supposed to get a beta, that was delayed. We were supposed to get the game in 2023, that was also delayed. So let's get both. Let's get both this year. Final 2. Hades 2. Hades 2 would be coming out. Remember, they've even talked about this. It's going to be like a beta kind of process. They'll open it up. People will be able to play it. They'll be asking for a lot of feedback. That'll go on for a while, and then they'll release the full game, which they did that to an extent even with Hades 1. I'm not sleeping on this one. Hades 1, I slept on until after it won, I think, Game of the Year. When it won maybe it was at the Game Awards, or if it just won Game of the Year in general. I played it after that, and this game it's a 10 out of 10. I mean, this game is insanely good. So I'm not going to sleep on the sequel. I'm in there the second they open any kind of registration or beta or whatever. I'm playing that day one. Because it's probably going to be, again, a Game of the Year kind of contender. And then Dragon Age Dreadwolf, not guaranteed, right? It could slip to 2025. We're going to get all the info that we've been wanting this upcoming summer. They've already said that. So then all that's left is for it to release in the fall. And if it doesn't release in the fall, well, it would fall off my list, right? But if it does, this is a game that I'm very much hoping that they nail. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.